Hey everyone, welcome back to RadRidez.com. This is our first video presentation we've done within the last 2 or 3 months due to circumstances beyond our control. We will once again be rolling videos out on a regular basis. We hope you enjoy our latest video over a torque converter install on a Baja Warrior mini bike. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, we're back. After a short hiatus, we're ready to go again. So what we're doing today is we're going to show a modification on a couple of, actually on one Baja Warrior mini bike. We've got two. We're going to place a torque converter on one of the mini bikes and show the difference between the two, before and after, that is visual. Here's the mini bikes right here. Both have been modified already. Neither one of these are stock. Everything that's been done to them is identical on each bike. We've got a header that's been mounted along with an aftermarket muffler. You can't really see it, but there is a crankcase air filter right here. And then if you go to the other side of each bike, you've got an aftermarket air filter. We've got a governor that's been disabled, and the carburetor has been rejetted. We've already done a review on both these bikes. We love these bikes. They are excellent little bikes. We paid about $600 a piece, brand new for them. With modifications, we've got just a hair over $100 in each one of them. That brings the total to a little over $700. If you buy a torque converter and install one on one of these, you will find that on YouTube and some of these other sites, most people advertise the top speed of around 55 miles an hour. That's all for right around $1,000. That's not bad, and both these machines have been heavily abused. Over here, we've got the kit that we bought. This is a Comet TAV2 or TAV2 kit. I don't really know either way. This is what you're going to get. Now, we have not installed one of these before, so what you see here is going to be a very real-world perspective of what anyone is going to go through trying to put one of these on. Looking inside the box, we've got instructions. Here's the main drive unit. We've got the pieces of the front part of the drive unit, which we will locate it up here once it's installed. The belt that will go between the two pulleys. Mounting hardware, and then a new cover which will go in place over the whole assembly. Also, fortunately there are a lot of other people on YouTube, other videos you can see where this has been done. On some of these units, and I suspect that's true of these, the crankshaft bolt that this mounts to, which will be going right through this hole right here, most crankshaft bolts have a center screw that goes in to hold this in place. I don't believe ours does, so I got on the internet like everyone else does, and in order to hold this assembly in place up front here, you can buy lug nuts with washers. These came from Summit Racing. It is a 12 by 1.25 millimeter lug nut kit, so we're going to see how well that works. So this is our lead design and tech expert, Tanner. We are going to move the bikes around, give us a minute, and we'll get things ready and start doing this. Alright guys, we've got our parts here. We've also assembled a tray of tools over here just from seeing the videos on the internet that we've watched. We tried to get as much stuff together as we could to get this done. Tanner's going to start right here. He's going to take the cover off the drive unit that's in there currently. Four 8mm nuts, or bolts I should say. Alright. I believe we're going to need needle noses and then take this big guy off right here. Here, I got needle noses right here. I'll get a snap ring toolkit here, set this up right over there. Snap ring right there. That can be taken off a variety of ways. We just happen to have a set of snap ring pliers. Go ahead and take that one off. Bring it up. What size is that one right there? 18? 19? Here, see if we can get a standard socket fit. I don't have one. Will fit. What size is it? 13/16. Do what?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, okay. Alright, now we need to take these off. So I do these. This will be a 10 right here. Right over there's a 3/8 drive. One thing to remember about this kit, I would have assumed everything that went on this little mini bike is metric. That is not the case with this kit. I noticed the sockets that I got ready for the hardware that came with the kit are all standard size. There's also a bolt on the other side over here. And let me have that driver. There is one other bolt on this gear reduction system on the other side of the motor. It's the one I'm getting ready to take off right now, if I have the right size socket. pressure off this nut for me.
Off of it?
Yeah, push it back a little bit, yeah. It's spinning on the other side. Okay, I'll tell you what, pull on the whole thing and maybe it'll bring attention on this thing. Heat shield and bolt need to come out. It's an 8mm. Is it on the other side?
Oh, it's on the bottom. That's what it's not hard.
Okay.
I got it.
You got it? Alright. Our heat shield did not want to cooperate. There's a bolt hidden in there somewhere, I'm sure. So, where'd you put it, Tanner? The heat shield.
The heat shield.
Alright. So Tanner got creative and cut part of it out of the way. So it's history. Alright, now from what we've seen, that needs to be beat in. This does. And out of the way. Let me see, I got better aim. That's good. No. It should be. Okay, I believe.
Is there anything else that interferes with the torque converter?
Oh, I see where the bolt closed. Okay, where does he get to? No, I don't believe so. Let's mount it up there to see if we've got clearance. One thing on this unit, as we saw in videos and we just tested ourselves, there are casting fins on the back here. As you can see, the two that face the front drive unit, we had to grind these off with an angle grinder as they interfere with the motor. So, as did the heat shield, those went away too. See if it sits flush. You need to get centered. This has to be centered right here. From here, rotate. So, bring it down. And do any of the holes match up?
No,
All right.
Alright, go get a black marker.
Here, let's take these. Let's take this off for a second. Okay, so it's these four right here we're trying to match up, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll get a black marker like you said. Alright. What are we marking?
Alright, I need a marker right there on my thumb.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then right here.
Right here, okay.
There.
Right there. Since they're all in the same place, turning it all wouldn't help.
Nope.
Alright. Let's drill some holes. I'll have holes big enough now. That's not going to work. That's not enough thread. Okay, first problem. The kit that we got does not have the right thread on the bolts. So as I was saying before, it's looking like standard or metric are not mixing. I tried these out a minute ago. They go in about 1 or 2 turns and then they stop. So we need to find smaller. Yep. Alright. So, off to the races for another bolt. Alright, so we found 4 of our own bolts. Mount them with lock washers and a little bit of thread locker just to make sure they don't go anywhere. I said I was. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let you get in there, Tanner. You can start mounting it just like you were before. No, it still just does not look right. Okay, wait a minute. Now it does. Okay, what we've been checking here for is obviously everything needs to remain straight and true. This is somewhat of a universal kit. Universal kits usually need adjustment. So, we're trying to make sure we get this in line with the crankshaft coming out of the motor. And so we've had to make some adjustments. We will find out whether those adjustments work or not. Okay, let's, alright, we did a little bit of test fitting on this. This is the original bushing that came off that's used as a spacer for the parts that are on there. That stays on the crankshaft. Here's another bushing right here. It is next installed. Alright, Tanner, go ahead.
Wait, pause.
Yeah, you got that one next. Right there. Turn, keep turning. You feel it. There you go. Alright, those spacers, make sure. What about it? Oh, it goes in there. Okay. Right there. It's not going to work like that. So, all right. Then that final piece. Now, what we found is, despite the good intentions of somebody trying to help out, this 1.25 inch lug nut is going to stick out way too far. On these kits, typically the crankshaft is center tapped to be able to put a bolt in there to hold this assembly together. Ours does not come with that. So this is supposed to be the fix. As you can see, this is a very long-winded bolt, and it bottoms out before this goes on here. So we're going to put up for the night, and I will be cutting about 1/2 inch off this lug nut, or going and buying another one altogether and putting it on there. Unfortunately, we're close to being finished with this, but we're going to have to wait. So, more to come. We'll be back. Hey everybody, we're back. And we've had some challenges putting this thing together, but I don't think it's anything we can't get past. It just goes to say that universal kit does not necessarily mean universal fit, at least not with some modification. So let's take a look at this thing. We've had to do several things. When we first started up and did a test fit on this thing and got it running, anytime we'd hit the gas, there'd be a bad grinding sound. Really not very pretty, not something mechanically you want to hear. Took a while going back and forth trying to figure out what it was. It turns out, and I don't know if this is just because there was not enough education on how to order this thing or what the circumstances might have been, but this is a 12-tooth sprocket. I did notice when I was ordering there was 12-tooth sprockets, 10-tooth sprockets. Didn't really understand, not doing this all the time, you know, what I needed to be looking for. So I had to get a different sprocket that goes, there's a sprocket, the front sprocket for the chain right here, that's behind this thing. Not wanting to wait on it, what I did is I robbed the old sprocket off the old clutch, which was right here. The inside of the sprocket was actually larger than the shaft on the mini bike. In order to compensate, once again, so I didn't have to wait on another sprocket, I cut some metal out of the old heat shield that we took off. I cut it about, well, basically about as wide as the sprocket housing there, and made it so it came all the way around with the exception of the area where the keyway goes. Once I bent it around the shaft and pushed it on there, it actually was a pretty tight, darn close to a perfect fit. So all that had to be done to do that was take this nut off here, pull the assembly out, and then take the old sprocket off, obviously, and put the new sprocket on, put it all back together. So, on the front one, despite what I said earlier, the Good Samaritan that posted on YouTube that you needed an 1.25 inch shaft lug nut on the front, they were absolutely correct. After going through all the test fittings, one problem we ran into was trying to get this belt aligned. In order to do that, I had to put some washers behind the plate of the unit here to bring everything on the front out in order to align with everything in the back here. And as you can see, the belt is relatively straight there. So going through the disassembly, these are the pieces that we've got. It's once you've done it once or twice, it's really easy. Alright, so just kind of as a recap, here's the first piece that goes on. I apologize, I don't know the names of all these, but that's why we've got a visual here for you. This piece, make sure this bushing goes on. It comes with the kit. Then the belt goes on. Also, the belt has markings on it. These arrows, this side to the engine. Make sure you do that or you'll end up tearing up belts. Belt goes on. Make sure you get this 4-splined centerpiece in. Line it up. Once you get all that, as you can see, I've got several washers on here. It's still a little long, but it works just fine. Put all that together. Pretty much just have to hold on to this torque converter right here and tighten it down as best you can. Alright, so all that goes together. As you can see from the tools here, the nice little pretty set we set out initially to do all this turned out to be a whole lot more, but if it was easy, I guess everyone would do it. Alright, one thing about this that we had to do that I forgot to mention is on the rear pulley. It was coming into contact with the chain. Just come over here and get in on this. We had to grind the back side of the pulley down so it would not rub against the chain right here. Alright, and once all that is done, the only remaining thing to do is put the chain back on and obviously adjust for the slack. You're good to go. Now all you got to do is start it up. And there it goes. Alright, we'll get these out on the road shortly and show you a comparison between the mini bikes, one with a torque converter and one without, so everybody can see the difference. We've already had them out. One thing that we noticed is that it's got a great bottom end and a great top end with the torque converter, but not as much of a middle end, if that makes any sense. You'll be able to see that it takes off real strong, kind of flattens out a little bit, and then once it gets towards the top end of the motor RPMs, it picks back up again. The difference being with the centrifugal clutch on the other one, it stayed pretty consistent the whole way through. I have heard, and one of our next articles will probably be, you can change out the springs that are inside this unit right here and adjust your stall speed. So that's more to come in the future. For now, we'll get these things out on the road and show y'all what they can do. That's it. One more thing. I forgot to put this little tidbit in there. We do not have the cover on yet. Once you get everything mounted, you've got to cut a place where the chain goes. This is the back of the cover. Chain's going to go through here. Real simple. And then it's going to mount up like so. Now the aggravating part of this is, number one, the holes to mount the cover are not pre-tapped, so that you could just use the screws to tap them as it's soft aluminum. But when it's mounted on the bike, it is not easy access. Having said that, I'm going to have to take the exhaust pipe off to get to this hole. And then this whole assembly pretty much needs to come off because I can't get to the two holes on the bottom. So do yourself a favor, go ahead and pre-tap your holes for this before you mount it on the bike. And then if the frame gets in the way, you might cut some relief holes right here in order to slide the cover on and then get the screws tightened down, because the screws are probably going to have to be in there before you even mount this drive unit. That's it. Alright, complete with our helmets for safety, we lined the mini bikes up for several test runs. The torque converter equipped bike is on the left side of your screen.
That squeal you hear is the rear brake on these bikes. They're notorious for making all kinds of noise. Time after time, the torque converter equipped bike outperformed the bike with the stock centrifugal clutch. Although we were very happy with the torque converter's performance, we did not find it would reach a top speed anywhere near 50 miles per hour, which were speeds we had seen others post on the internet. Using a GPS unit, we clocked hours at 42 miles per hour. Although this may seem initially to be somewhat of a disappointment, 42 miles per hour is very respectable, especially considering brand new, these bikes topped out at 22 miles per hour. What came as an unexpected bonus was the off-the-line torque that we discovered with the installation of the torque converter. Our rider found that if he held the brake while throttling the bike up to get a harder launch, the front wheel would come off the ground easily, something it hadn't done before. In summary, we started with a $600 investment and a mini bike docile enough for anyone to ride. With the installation of a header, carburetor jetting, an air filter, and disabling the governor, we added approximately 11 miles an hour to the top end, more torque, and all for just a little over $100 more to the initial investment. Finally, we installed a torque converter for approximately $250 and achieved an overall gain of approximately 20 miles per hour, more torque, and all for a grand total of about $1,000. These bikes are quiet enough to ride around town, yet still spunky enough to give anyone a thrill. We have ridden them around the neighborhood and also up and down sandy and rocky riverbeds. We have seen uses for these bikes for kids, adults, and everyone from ranchers tending property and stock to racers going between the track and pits. Thanks for watching, and remember, RadRidez rules!